Well, I rested. I did a lot of work on my performance that I'm getting ready to do upcoming on the weekend. So getting music together. I did some bike riding. Worked on healing. Worked on healing for my last bike ride fall. But yeah, no, other than that, I didn't really do too much. I took it a little easier this weekend, I think. But for the most part, yeah, I kind of remember the days off in the week more. Right.
Well, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you.
Me, yes, because I was laughing my butt
I had,
off.
I mean, you know, you fell off your bike. I have a really funny fall off my bike. 2 stories, not just one.
Oh my gosh.
Just sheer stupidity. But anyway, we can laugh about that later.
Okay. Oh my god.
But which is why we missed last Monday, right? Because my back and hip were hurting from overworking on a swim workout, and you kind of had a little
and I just as the nurse called it, an asphalt assault.
Oh. And the asphalt, when you hit, is very unforgiving. There is no give. It doesn't bounce.
Exactly.
And, I got to be honest with you. I feel bad because when you sent me the picture, I thought it was...
You thought it was paint. So many people...
I thought it was face paint.
So many people thought
oh my God, that looks really cool. And you're all, I fell off my bike.
So many people thought I painted my face. And they're like, it looks like a tattoo.
Face paint.
Look,
or
guys.
from,
This is, I got, and I'm going to be posting a video of how it came off. But it came off, but this is still there. You guys can see it.
Yeah, we're like twins because I got one too, right? Just don't give us bicycles to ride. We're just dangerous.
Right.
Hey, Delora, how you doing?
We don't mind the dangerous.
No.
So
No. It's just ridiculous. So, okay. So today's show is about, I always do this. I always forget why it's important. Hey, Laura, how you doing? Why it's important to prioritize and strengthen your physical, emotional, and mental fitness right now. Right now. If you're not doing the balance of all 3, you're missing out on the biggest investment and biggest return on your investment that you could possibly make. So, anyway, all right.
Well, let's get into this.
Let's get into that. Let's get into that.
Why is it the biggest investment?
Well, okay, I'll use myself as an example. I'm 54 years old, right? 54, been training for my own personal exercise program for, over 30 years, all right? That puts me in a very unique position. Great, okay, whatever. But it doesn't necessarily mean that just because I work out real hard doesn't mean I'm truly healthy and fit.
Right.
It does not mean that at all. You need to have a balance of, your heart, your mind, your soul, your body, all of that. It just can't be one-dimensional. Right. So,
what would that look like for people? Say that they're like super healthy, super fit. They're like got the diet going. Right. They got the muscles going. They got the stamina going. But their mental and their emotional isn't right. What does that look like for people? It affects what kind of
the behavior, that toxic behavior inside, or that toxic or sad, depressive, anxiety-filled, deep wounded self inside. If they are. Right. Well, what else would they be? If you are not if you don't have a positive foundation of self-love within yourself, I don't care how lean and clean you look, or perfect your body looks, or how sexy you look from society standards, how awesome your diet is, how diligent you are with it. That doesn't mean anything. Right. It means nothing at all. Right. Because I hate to break it to you, if you look that way, you're not going to look like that forever. You're not. I mean,
stress takes a toll on people.
Not everybody. Not everybody
hair,
looks like
they get wrinkles.
Jack LaLanne, or what's that? There's this really great fitness competitor that's in her 60s or 70s, and she's all over the internet. And you know what is sad about that? And I'm going to use the word sad. Pardon the shake again. I'm trying to hold this up for the next hour. Is that as glorious and as awesome as this particular individual has invested in? Oh my God, you see me holding that thing up there. Into her health and fitness for well over, 30, 40, 50 years or 20 years, however long it may be. There are these comparison posts of her with another person, another old elderly woman, right? Yeah. And the caption is reading, "Look at the choices these 2 people made," which is completely out of line.
Wow.
Because you're completely dismissing and discrediting the fact that another person, let's take my mom, right, who's 84. Right. She's lived a wonderful life. She's in great health. She survived and thrived post-cancer, right? Okay, and
that takes a toll.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean
really
that
takes a toll on
the
somebody.
choices in her life determine that she's
was not fit.
Yeah,
or she wasn't able
it's just
to
it's very short-sighted. It's incredibly short-sighted. I get the point that they're making, but I think they could have crafted a better message than that. So, having said that, if you have a toxic nature within you, it's just you're not capitalizing on living a really, really full life. So let's break this down from a physical standpoint. If you don't have some sort of method or exercise program or something that you do physically to release your stress and work on your physical health and give your body a reason to be a fat burning machine or at least an energy burning machine, then you're absorbing a lot of stress and inflammation that's going to occur. And that's just not healthy in the long run. If you are 30, creeping up on 40, and if you're in your 50s, you've got a lot of muscular and bone structure problems that are going to hit you that can possibly hit you in the future, especially internal organ issues. Right? Let's not even mention, what do we have? Diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, cortisol, rheumatoid arthritis,
gout,
right? Gout, all that kind
cataracts,
of stuff. Yeah, if you don't have strong muscles, or at least muscles that are being worked on a regular basis, you're not flushing a lot of that healthy blood in your body, right?
Right.
Okay, to flush out those toxins. That's one. And also, you're not giving your body a reason to utilize the fuel that you take in as energy. You're just storing it, which isn't good, which is why a lot of people are overweight. So, and I know that we're just summarizing all this stuff, but it doesn't have to be that complicated, even as detailed as it is. In my Fit, Love, Strong online coaching program, I do customize everything for everyone from a small group all the way to an individual basis, and I can upgrade you guys and download all that information to you anytime you want. But the bottom line is you got to put in the work. Okay, so, and also train sharp, you look sharp. Train sloppy, you look sloppy. Don't just work out for the sake of or do exercises or partake in some sort of exercise activity and think that by osmosis it's going to happen.
Right.
I mean, it's make sure you're doing the effective exercises you should be doing. Make sure that.
Yeah, I'm not going to get bigger thighs and better thighs and stronger thighs if I'm not doing any kind of squats or any exercise with my legs. That's for sure. I know that I have been shirking my upper body strengths, like exercises, but that's okay. I will get back to it. Right now, I have my music on my mind, but it's very important because that is like kind of taking the lead over, and I would say that's creative, but that brings me some kind of physical relief though too, because I'm putting my energy out there and I'm like...
Stress relief, right?
Yeah.
You've got that positive energy going through your body. But nonetheless, it's one of those things where it doesn't take a whole lot to implement some sort of movement in your body.
True.
You don't have to do anything nuts. You don't have to, you don't have to be in a CrossFit gym going nuts, or anything like that. You don't have to start out running a marathon.
Right.
Just start somewhere. Start somewhere. Just get moving.
Yeah.
Even walking every day.
Even planking.
Planking's not easy.
Yeah, I know, but
that's very hard. There's different levels. There's just different levels of how to plank.
Yeah, if you guys aren't ones to move and you don't want to go do anything, but you want to start with like increasing your strength, planking is a good start because you're not moving literally, but you're holding yourself up.
If you get on the ground and you're completely horizontal, that could even be very challenging to start with. Yeah. You could start on a countertop right here and just be at a 45-degree angle instead of totally flat. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Totally. And just holding yourself.
That right there could be challenging for some people, and that's okay. That's totally okay.
Just a simple plan.
Absolutely. Everybody has a starting plan. When I custom design an exercise program or take on a client, it's where's your starting point? Meet you where you are there. Take in consideration your injury history, what your capabilities are. Everyone has a starting point. And I've worked with everyone from post-cancer patients to Major League ball players. And actually, the more advanced they are, the more delicate and fragile they are.
Yeah. The movements are.
Right. Yeah. So, and because of the injury history, if they've been doing it for a long time, if you're a couch to 5K or somebody who's totally beginning, believe it or not, you got to learn the basics. So it behooves you to master the basics.
Yeah.
So master the basics to become spectacular so that when you need to be spectacular, it's basic. I mean, it should be just second nature to you.
I love that play on words.
Yeah. You can't develop a high level of success if you're not willing to polish your game from the basic level.
Right.
It just isn't going to happen.
And
it's
in order to be spectacular, which will just be basic.
Absolutely. You can't improvise anything to be spectacular if you don't have the basic stuff down.
I'm telling you, practice, practice.
Right. I mean, when you're on stage.
Put effort, you know,
right.
and the rewards, they pay off.
Well, from an artistic standpoint, think about it. How many times have you had to improvise on stage? But there's no way you can do that. There's no way you can do that if you don't put in the reps throughout the week of, you know.
That's so true.
Right? It just isn't going to happen. It's the same thing with your exercise program. And also, your body gets bored.
Yeah.
You know?
It really does.
For those of you who have been working out for quite a while and you go to the gym or you go to yoga and you go to, you know, you do your running workout all week, and I may upset some of you by saying this, but it's true. Okay. If you're in a controlled environment, whether it's indoor or outdoors, or if you've just been doing the same thing, if I ask you right now, so what do you do for your workout? And you rifle it off and you've been doing it for quite a while, your body's bored.
Ooh.
It's not stimulated. It's
new.
not stimulated anymore. You've got to challenge your fitness. And the way you do that is do something out of the norm. Pick 2 or 3 or 4 events during the year, like a charity fun run, or you know, if you're already at a 10K pace, train for a half marathon. If you don't want to run, hike. If you don't want to hike, swim. If you don't want to swim, bike. Do something. Use the natural elements out there where you're not in an air-conditioned room, like a gym.
Yeah,
comfortable, and you know your body knows what kind of energy it's gonna expel for that, and it's bored. So when you do an outdoor event, and you're around a lot of people who want to do the same thing, like whenever you get to a starting line, when there's 400, 500, 600 people doing the same thing, I guarantee you every single one of them, if not 99% of them, are thinking, what am I doing here?
Oh my God.
You know, oh my God, I hope I make it. And the energy is awesome because it's very motivating. And then you go, right? Starting gun goes off. You know, let's say it's a 5K, it's your first one, or a 10K, or even a half marathon. There's going to be moments during that where you're going to go, oh my God, what am I doing here? And it doesn't matter whether you're walking it or running it or whatever the case may be. So after the event, you enjoy it, got a medal, awesome, great. Now, the next day and 2 days after that, you feel the soreness. You feel the aches and pains. That's when you go back to the drawing board. That's when you go back to the gym or talk to a professional or just Google, why do I feel this way after a run, this particular area, this particular muscle group. That tells you may be deficient in training that area.
Oh.
That's how you go back to the drawing board. If you were hiking, you know, and you were, let's say your hamstrings were really sore. Okay, or your glutes were really sore, or you know your low back was really sore, or something like that, or you were just really winded. Those are signs of deficiency in your current workout program.
Oh, wow.
That's why it's important to challenge your fitness. So when you challenge your fitness and you strengthen the weaknesses of your game, and they become your strengths, you elevate yourself to the next level. It's really, really quite simple, right? Don't be stuck in the confines of your own comfort.
How hard is it for so
it's
many people
so
to do that,
easy.
It's
but
like,
you know, every person.
It's so comfortable.
Yeah, you ask any person who does outdoor events like that, you know, to challenge their fitness, every single one of them will tell you, God, it's a lot of fun. I have friends that do it, and it's the energy, and it's just, there's nothing negative about it.
Yeah, people wonder why I keep going back even after I fell down, why I go back to riding my bike. Because I love it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I like riding my bike. I like being outside. I like to push myself. I like the sweat. I like the exercise. I like meeting new people. You know, it's everything that does go into it.
That's such a healthy thing, meeting other people that are like-minded and like-valued like you. And also forward motion, right? It's forward motion. I don't care if it's hiking upward, that's still forward. If you're running, if you're walking, it doesn't matter. You know, like, okay, even swimming, it's a forward motion. Cycling is a forward motion. Being in a gym, riding a treadmill for an hour or running a treadmill for an hour, elliptical trainer, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
It's not. It's made it convenient for you, and it's actually a false stride.
Yeah, that's why I don't.
It's not a natural stride.
I don't like being on treadmills for that reason, unless I'm actually running on the treadmill.
I mean, there was this. Okay, again, if this is like there's this, I saw this thing where this person ran on a treadmill for 8 hours or some ungodly number of something like that, or 4 hours. And I thought to myself, all right, you ran like a hamster on a wheel for X time, and let's look at the positive benefits of that. Sure. Okay, so you've got respiratory-wise, circulatory-wise, awesome.
Going,
you know, the only thing you had to adapt is Well, if the stride and the speed that you set the treadmill to is the same the whole time, then there really wasn't anything to adapt to.
Right.
You only had to keep up with it.
You got to do incline or
right?
something.
Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. But nonetheless, your stride is not really conducive to forward motion because you're heel striking. You're not forefoot striking. Some people do that, but some people run naturally heel striking. But when you heel strike, everything going upstream is a shock going up the back of your leg, right, to the back of your knees, to your hips, instead of if you're forward striking, you're forefoot striking, you're moving forward the whole time. Okay. Anyway, there's a whole kind of theory and science behind it, and I switched over from heel striking to forefoot striking. It completely saved my knees. It gave me much more endurance.
Is that kind of like running on your toes? Because I run
similar, like the base of your foot, and like in the top, like the base underneath your toes.
Oh.
Your forefoot.
Oh.
Right?
I run
so running on your toes, I mean, I don't know if you can literally do that, but you can as close as you can if you're sprinting. But if you're going to do distance, you want to be falling forward towards the motion. Right? And your body's going to work less. Yeah. Believe it or not, it's going to work less instead of more.
It's kind of like swinging your hips as
exactly.
you go too.
There's a difference between sprinting mechanics and long distance running mechanics, right? And even power walking mechanics, right? So anyway, so that's some of the physical aspects of it. Okay. Look at the percentage of the population that work in the office.
Oh my gosh, let's talk about that.
Let's talk about the seated position. The seated position where your shoulders and your head start to slouch over.
Your shoulders are really coming forward and your hands are already down, and then you kind of got that curl. You probably start to feel a dull ache once in a while, probably in your shoulders, and you feel like, oh, I got to pick myself up. And that's where you get that, got to stretch it back.
That's even more traumatic.
Which is why it's so important to really strengthen your back muscles, especially when if you do go to the gym or if you're doing any kind of exercises at home. I like the lawnmower one where you kind of do free weights. Free weights and even a rowing, but free weights where you're kind of bent over and you pull the weights.
It's a brilliant exercise.
And so those are really good for strengthening the back because that's really important for anybody who has desk jobs. And if you're a woman and you're heavy busted where you have a lot of weight in the front and you really just get hunched over, it's really even more important for you guys to work on those back muscles to get those blades strong that pull your shoulders back, work on your shoulders, your back, and if you can get like your lower back, that helps to kind of keep that together. So it's going to pull that back for you guys and help a little bit in that everyday, day-to-day, hunched over in front of your desk, computer feeling.
And that's coming from someone who hasn't lived as a fitness professional. She just has great common sense, and fitness, right?
And it's not. I've always been like, hey, your posture has always been like,
absolutely,
a thing.
Absolutely. There's more micro trauma damage that's done in a slouching position, seated for over time than somebody slaying a hammer all day long, a sledgehammer all day long.
Yes.
People who have physical jobs at least have that functional strength where their bodies are having to move, and it's pretty much a workout on its own. It's just a functional workout, right? So whenever you're in a sedentary position for a long time, that causes more damage than anything else.
Because your muscles and your bones, everything start to set into that position. If you let it set into that position, your body will get comfortable. It will form that way, and it will start to feel more painful to try to bring it back to its functioning normal form because it's set in that way. And I feel people, it hurts. It's because you're letting it sit, and then you end up with a hunchback.
That's a brilliant perspective and a brilliant visual because if your muscle should act as a form of an armor for your skeletal structure. So let's take a wire hanger and put a heavy cable knit sweater that a fisherman would wear.
Right.
Really dense, right?
Yes.
And you soak it in a bucket of water, and when you lift it up, it's going to bend the hanger, right? Well, the sweater represents your musculature. The hanger represents your skeletal structure, right? So over time, as you age, if you are absorbing stress and you are not strengthening the muscles,
you're eating, you're gaining more weight.
You're just really, that posture is going to go, and your central nervous system gets affected. Yep. Everything just, it's very depressive. System. Everything. It's not. It's just bottom line. It just isn't good. It just isn't good, right?
So where do they start to get out of that? Say they find themselves, they wake up, they're watching this, all of a sudden. That's where I'm at. How do I get started into changing and getting out of any of this?
Well, I'll tell you what. So just from a self-empowerment standpoint, number one, get moving. What's the number one free thing you could do right away that doesn't cost you anything? Start walking.
Walk.
Right? That's the first, right?
It's get into the building.
It is the simplest cardiovascular exercise that improves your respiratory system and your cardiovascular system, bar none. right away. Okay, if you are an absolute zero ground level fitness level, right? The strength training capacity of it, you definitely want to have proper instruction to that. You can contact me. You can go on YouTube. There's many different different ways to acquire the information for that, but you definitely want to do it properly. You want to make sure that the exercises you do are effective and conducive for your starting point right away and for your biomechanics, because everybody's built different. Everybody's tall, short, wide, injuries here and there. You don't want to do things that you shouldn't be doing that could make something even worse, or do exercises that are repetitive because you think they're cool and effective looking, but you're actually wasting your time.
Oh, like what?
A lot of people do that, right? You brought up a point earlier about squats. Okay, squats are probably the best universal, what we would call a compound movement. A compound movement meaning you're bending multiple joints. Okay, and creating strength, right? So there's pretty much every muscle group or every part of your body, upper and lower, has some sort of capacity to do a compound movement. However, if you have trauma in your knees, if you have trauma in your back or your hips or wherever the case may be, and you don't know that, and you do it wrong, or you do the wrong version, you can make it even worse.
Oh, yes.
And you don't want to do that,
gals
right?
at work pull, and then they had a sciatica issue because they kept on going to the gym and working out, and they didn't know what it was, but then they kept on, and before they knew it, they couldn't even move anymore.
That's not good.
No.
So, checking in with your doctor. By the way, here's a great segue to the doctor, in that if you are in your 30s, all right, especially in your 40s, your annual physical is your standard measure right there. Okay, there is one person you want to impress only one, and that's going to be your doctor. You want your doctor every year saying to you, "I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. Your numbers look good, your blood test results." Or if you're getting a report like, "God, your blood pressure is really high, your cholesterol level is really high," anything that's really high and negative, that's you can totally heal that on your own. You want to make sure you put yourself in a position where you're holistically using nutrition to heal yourself. Okay, you're taking it upon yourself to strengthen your body and treat it like a high performance machine, because you can. The body's simple purpose is to be an adaptive mechanism. Okay, so if you feed it right and you train it right, it's going to respond. All right, so that's from a physical standpoint. Okay, now let's go into the emotional and mental training here. Okay, and the thing is, if you're in great shape but you're a jerk, I'm sorry, you're not healthy. You're not healthy, because who wants to be around you?
Yeah.
Right.
And why would you just want to be?
And what are you attracting to yourself? And let's just talk about the law of attraction as it is. And if you don't think that's real, comes around, goes around.
I even talk about it in my lyrics.
It's
evil begets evil, and good begets the good.
Absolutely.
So if you want to stick in that energy, that's what you're going to get, because that's what's going to want to be around you.
You absolutely want to invest and explore and take a bird's eye view, pump the brakes and take a bird's eye view of how are you treating yourself inside? What is the relationship you have with yourself?
With yourself.
Absolutely. That, bar none, I would have to say, of the three, physical, emotional, and mental, that is the most important one.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, if they're a jerk, do they treat themselves like jerks?
Of course they are. They hate themselves. That is, anytime you have negative, toxic behavior to others, that's how you view yourself. I don't care how cynical you are. I don't care, if that's accepted and that's very endearing to your family and your friends.
That's how.
If that's your foundation, what part of that is positive?
Right.
Right?
Right.
What part of that is positive? You may be endearing to others and accepted by your family and whatnot, but on a whole, there's nothing good about that.
No.
At all.
Well, I hopefully those people can recognize in themselves, or if they care.
It's a choice, though.
Yeah, if they care,
it's a total choice.
Because some people maybe not in a place to change it.
If you're a type of person that criticizes things easily, or if you're short-sighted or you're narrow-minded and you're always, do you know who those people are? They're toxic and they talk trash, and their self-language, even just to, maybe not to others, but just to themselves. Their self-language, they call themselves,
I hate this.
Oh, I hate myself, or even
I don't like when I do this, or just talking terrible about themselves.
Your body listens to that.
It does.
It absolutely listens to that. Here's a simple test.
Love yourself.
Stand in front of the mirror, calmly, okay, after a shower, in your privacy of your own bathroom, right?
And stare into those deep, wonderful eyes.
See if you could stand in front of the mirror
and just
for 15 minutes without looking away.
Love.
And I guarantee you the toxic person who is either hateful for themselves or just really deeply saddened by a lot of wounds. And you don't have to be toxic to be saddened by a lot of wounds.
That's right.
Let's make that distinction right now. It'll be very uncomfortable for them to look at themselves because they're seeing many different versions of themselves in the mirror. Right? Maybe when you were younger, maybe when you were older, maybe whatever the case may be. And it's talking to you. Right? And daily mirror work is the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's also it's one of the most difficult things to do, right?
Yes.
It's easy to talk to yourself if you don't see yourself, but to look at yourself in full acceptance and in full view of who you are deep into your eyes and be honest with yourself. That's an incredibly hard thing to do for some people.
Yeah.
But it's one of the first steps to absolute self-love. And then there's many different methods by which you can harness that out of yourself, from different types of meditation, contemplative prayer, an active meditation like Ho'oponopono, right? Which is,
what's that?
It's the ancient Hawaiian forgiveness mantra based on these 4 phrases. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, and thank you.
Oh, those are nice.
Oh, yeah. And
those
it's
are basics.
Ho'oponopono is a wonderful.
Ho'oponopono. I'm going to type that.
You should look it up. And I read a book on it and I'm practicing it, and it's fantastic because it's relevant and you can use it anytime you want. Wayne Reed.
Ho'oponopono.
What's up, brother? Yeah, it's just amazing. It really is. So, but nonetheless, whatever meditation process or self-language or self-talk process works for you is fine. If you have the type of personality that can do a very quiet, transcendental type of meditation where you're very, very quiet, great. I can't do that.
Right.
I can't sit still enough to do that. My mind works way too fast, right? There's yin flow yoga, which is really, really great and calming. And then there's going to be all levels yoga where you're just moving. You just have to find what resonates with you the most. And the best exercise program or the best meditative or self-help and self-love methods are the ones that you're going to do.
Yeah. I find that because I'm a talker and I like to talk and I like to sing sometimes. I'm not a singer, but I do like to get into that. Chanting is really nice for me because chanting is an ongoing push of your voice, projecting of your voice in different tones through the different syllables. So through the different tones, it's ongoing. And then it's when I get to a point, I start to feel myself, after all the crazy thoughts have gone, start to get into the zone.
Right.
And you get into the zone. So it's different for everybody. What that feels like and what it is that gets you there.
It sure is. Jeff Anderson, how you doing, brother? Yeah, it's you got to be able to find a way to connect with yourself. It's so important to do that. And it absolutely increases your ability to have better relationships with others as well. You absolutely have to do that, right? Okay, so let's talk about the mental part of it, right? Okay. The mental part of it. To me, the mental part of it is the convincing method. Every time you're negotiating and convincing yourself and motivating yourself that things are okay and it's going to get better, or your competitive nature takes over and you're living that every day, you're draining your mind.
Say that again.
Because if you're saying to yourself, "Hey, I can do it," and blah blah blah, and you're so motivated,
convincing yourself.
Yeah, you're convincing yourself and you're pumping yourself up, and it's okay, and you have this.
So you have to convince yourself because you don't already believe it.
Right.
Which is where you're expending your energy.
You're draining your body.
Because
you're draining your mind.
You don't already exist as I am this.
Exactly.
I believe this because I am this. I am doing this, and it's just so natural, like automatic driver mode. Like you don't even think about it. You just are. But if you have to sit and spend your energy convincing yourself,
it's a proving ground, and
you're going to be drained.
You never should have to prove anything.
Right.
Right. You're already worthy as you are.
And you do as you do.
Right.
That's what you do.
And that comes back to self-love and a healthy self-relationship. Yeah. That's why, was it you that said you had a friend or a family member that said the hardest journey is 18 inches long between your head and your heart? Absolutely, right? Because when the difference between inspiration and motivation is it's go, go, go. It's in your mind. It's based on a fear of something you don't ever want to happen again.
Right.
Okay. All right. Or it's based on something that you don't want to happen again. The lack thereof. It's always a lack drive.
You don't ever want to see happen.
It's always a lack drive. Inspiration's different. Inspiration means you're doing it out of love. You're doing it because you care. How many times, as a parent, for those of you who are parents out there, how many times have you gotten out of bed to feed that child, no matter how exhausted you are, but you're inspired to do so because it's out of love. right? You know, there's a huge difference between the two. If you cannot connect your inspiration to drive and be the foundation of your motivation, then that's a massive disconnect. That's a massive disconnect. From a short-term perspective, you can grind and hustle and succeed. I won't dispute that. You can even be a millionaire if you just totally motivated yourself to do it. Okay. But you're grinding and hustling and you're just draining yourself to do it. You're sacrificing yourself to do it versus somebody who's in the flow. Right?
Yeah.
Somebody who's in the flow, leading with their heart instead of leading with their mind.
And that's
leading with
so
their head.
Important, leading with their heart.
It's so important. It's so important.
In everything. I just got that bit of advice doing something recently, and that's what exactly they said.
I mean, leading with your heart means that you're going to treat everything and fuel it with love. Everything from your workouts, instead of looking at it as a chore mentally, it's a gift to your body. Every time you eat something good that's healthy and nutritious for your body, it's not because I need to do it because it's good for me. It's a gift so that my body can operate at a higher level.
Yeah.
Every time you're kind to somebody, it's because you're giving a good part of yourself because it just feels good without any expectation of return. You know what I mean? So if you can be fueled by love, which is the ultimate fuel, it'll keep your motivation to succeed at every level incredibly high for a long time. You can sustain it. It's not short term. Right? And that lends to relaxed confidence.
Oh, nice.
Right? It's becoming confident. Just say that. It's becoming confident is, it's convincing yourself to do so. If I want to become confident, I've got to tell myself to do so. Right? I have to break down the barriers that don't make me confident.
Right.
At whatever point in my life. But to have relaxed confidence means that you're tough enough to make the tough decisions because you're tough enough for what unfolds. You just exist and it's fine. That takes emotional intelligence. It takes maturity. It takes some years, you know. And those of you watching are probably in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. And if you're not at that level yet, I would absolutely pump the brakes, fly at a bird's eye view, and ask yourself why. You know, are there people, places, and things in your life that don't need to be there? I did a total house cleaning of my life and purged it Memorial Day 2017, where I just said, I was just sitting there going, why are things not going the way I want it to?
That's almost a year ago.
I've got so many things, and I realize I've allowed too many things in my life. Instead of, at the time I was focusing on accomplishments and achievements instead of effectiveness. In order to be truly accomplished, in order to be truly successful, you've got to be effective in everything that you're doing. And if you're choosing things that you cannot effectively give your time and attention and love towards, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And it's taking away from other things that you really, really love to do and you're passionate about. So that brings you to the most important word in your personal vocabulary at some point in your growth. And you know what that is? It's not yes, it's no.
So true.
Right?
How many people do not know how to say no?
You got to be able to say no. And you have to risk angering others. And you have to risk.
I literally had to write that on my fridge to say, like, I have the right to say no to anything.
You have to risk, you have to risk even ending relationships with people who just are always on that. You know, because at the end of the day, you're the most important thing in the world in your own personal universe.
Yeah.
If you are spreading yourself out too thin, and if you are just not, you're chasing shiny objects and you're a people pleaser and doing all that, you know, guess what? That's your fault. You can't blame anybody else if you're not able to reach the level you want to reach, or if you're simply not happy. You know, a goal, being happy shouldn't be a goal.
Well, it is for some if they've never, like, really, you know, if it's hard for them to be in a happy place.
Right.
That might be a goal for them.
How sad is that?
Well, I mean, I can't really say that it's sad because some people actually probably live a life in, like, a lot of misery, but then now they're working hard to actually be to that happy place. So if that is their goal and if they have to reset that goal every day, I think more power to them because they may be effectively trying to get to that place.
And consider this. They're probably comfortable in their own misery, which is why they don't want to be happy.
But what I'm saying is they may come from a place where they're effectively trying to get out of that
That's
situation.
true. I mean, yeah,
where they have
it's external, right?
We have to set that goal every day to say, okay, well, let me get to this place where they realize if that means I have to cut that out and they have to reset that goal because, like, they're still in that environment. It's just
environmental. Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. It is difficult, but it's we can agree that it's simple yet incredibly challenging.
Yes.
It's right. I mean, there's simplicity in it.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. Because you make the goal.
Absolutely.
And you work towards it.
Absolutely.
And where it might be difficult would be like external factors and other things. But once you get to the point where you've made that goal and you're putting it into perspective, like I can make myself happy every day,
right?
You will learn how to do that for yourself, no matter the external circumstances.
Okay, make myself happy. That's do have be versus be do have.
Do have be.
Right? Okay. So if you look at the majority of the population, they are doing things so that they can have these things so that they can become something and be happy.
Well, that's still externally.
Yeah. Compared to let me just be because I can be.
But I have to accept it. They have to accept
exactly.
that.
Flaws and all being flawsome. Okay. Therefore, whatever I do will be the effect and I will have whatever I have and I'm still okay.
And I'm still okay.
Right? So that's the difference between the two. And I work in a coaching program called The Powerful Man, where we work with a lot of very successful male entrepreneurs, high-level senior leaders who have grinded and hustled and sacrificed everything they possibly could to get to that level. Right? And then the wounds and the lack of self-acceptance and unworthiness surfaces. It catches up. And you want to talk about peeling away some layers, it's that whole do have be versus be do have. And that is what's difficult to unfold.
Is it because they have to come to the understanding that they gave up so much in order to be where they're at, and now they have to figure out like where, well, they have to kind of be okay with everything that they've created. That's part of it. And also constant and feeling unworthy and unfulfilled because they're believing an incident or a moment or a relationship or some languaging that happened in the past that allows them that makes them define themselves that way. True. And it's absolutely not. Right. You know? Right. I had someone tell me that an incident to a young man, that a choice that a young man made or a circumstance that happened to this young person at 15 was going to follow them for a long time. Oh, BS. They told them that?
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
I know, right?
I mean, I could think of.
But if that 15-year-old believes it, then he's going to go and structure and create decisions and make decisions and then create the life around trying to prevent whatever that may have been or not, or however that goes. Totally. But it'll start to shape his life into something he may have not otherwise have done.
How many things can you think of that you did as a teenager that if you had somebody tell you, this is going to follow you for a long time and shape your life, I'd laugh. I'd be like, you're joking, right?
At
really?
15?
At 15? Come on.
Yeah, but the kids don't think that, you know.
Well, it's a responsibility of the adults and parents and people around them to not do that.
Yeah, but it's like when they're told by those people who they trust and then somebody tells them that.
Right.
But which is why it's important for the adults to have to fix themselves and not be so broken so that you're not affecting the youth in this way. Today's
climate with young people is very volatile right now. There's a norm now. And I don't have to name what that activity is that's going on in schools, but it's really sad that that's now a norm. It's not even shocking anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Yeah. Here in America. And so I think from a young person's perspective, if you're between the ages of 10 and 18, I hope to God that you're in an environment where you're in a loving environment and a supportive one, because when you turn 30, 40, 50 years old, you are the future of this country. You are the future long after we're gone. Yeah. Because you're going to be parents, you're going to be employers, you're going to be employees, you're going to be civic leaders, right? Yes. If you are a parent right now, please, please, please encourage. Be encouraging, but also be disciplined. Yes. Right? Understand the blend of the two. So anyway, well, that's a whole nother topic, right?
We can talk about it next
time. Absolutely.
All you parents out there, you probably perked up a little bit.
Right.
Like, what does that mean to you?
So, but you know what, guys, for those of you who watch this show and listen to it, thank you so much for allowing us to kind of, talk about that and explore it. And anytime I personally, as a professional, make a statement or talk about something, I do it to, invite conversation. And I even purposely sometimes show statements or memes or vocalize things that are meant to jar the sensations, because I want to invite conversation. Anything I say is something I'm going to believe in, but at the same time, if somebody disagrees with it or gets upset or gets offended by it, I want that to invite a conversation because I want to learn your perspective. That's just me, though. So it's like rapping, right? You wouldn't rap something that you didn't feel resonating with.
Right.
Right. So anyway.
And I actually try to change things around, but I'll always go back to the same kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And I'm just like, okay.
Absolutely. So, yeah, so it's incredibly important right now, just from an annual physical standpoint, right, to prioritize and strengthen your physical, emotional, and mental fitness right now. If you don't know how to do that, if you don't know how to get started, you can reach me on Facebook under Mel Martin, MELMARTIN. You can direct message me if you'd like. I'm also on Instagram as FitLoveStrong, FITLUVSTRONG. And I'd love to hear from you and steer you in the right direction, whether I customize something for you personally in my online coaching business from that format, or just steer you in the right direction to get the information you need, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really important thing, and maybe we can talk about it next time, but about the parents and what that means for if you're broken, and what it means for you to come into healing, and what it is, how your decisions and what you say and what you do affect generations beyond you. So, we're just kind of scratching the surface, but it is really important to get everything going right now, because why wait another day? Why wait another time? Because one day of waiting could make, you know, as they say, it can make or break some things. It could be the difference between your body setting into a position or your muscles getting into something that you don't want it to be, versus saying, I'm going to go ahead and have mind over matter, power over my body, and I'm going to go ahead and say, I choose to do this, and body, I'm going to make you do this. You're not going to tell me no because you're being lazy and don't want to do it. But you make yourself move into the direction that you want to. And that's, you know, your wellness, your health, your fitness, mentally, emotionally, physically.
Absolutely.
And so we really encourage you guys to get out there, get moving, get healthy, get fit, get strong in your mind, body, and soul. And so if you guys don't know where you're starting, like Mel says, go to the doctor. That's going to be your kind of your point to start at. This is where my body's at right now. This is where my health is right now. And you will start to see either a digression or a progression of what that will look like through your trials and maybe your workout routines, and you know what it is that you're going to do. If you guys are needing that emotional support off top, or some emotional or mental, I want to say there's one thing that Mel has prescribed to me. I would say prescribed or suggested to me was a video journaling. So I have this private page, Ronnie's Life. I call it Ronnie's Life. And it's a private page, and I just video journal. And it's such a great thing for my emotional health, my emotional release, because I can go back and view that versus before people would find my journals and read it, and I would be so devastated. Oh my gosh, it's so devastating. Well, at least this is a private page, and I can, you know, nobody has to see it but me, and I can release in every way, shape, form, or fashion that I need to, emotionally, verbally, mentally, how I speak that. And I don't have to offend anybody. I don't have to worry about anybody's opinion. I don't have to worry about if I want to erase it, I can erase it and never be heard again. If I want to go back and, you know, be motivated by it, I can go back and rewatch it. But it's a great source and suggestion for anybody who might need some emotional, a good start to your emotional clearing. Because if you're not ready to go speak to a therapist, you don't want to go speak to a therapist, you know, that's maybe not your thing. But if you can talk about it and get it out, even with yourself, it helps.
There's something to be said when you're the audience, right? If you plopped up your phone and hit record on a video, you're going to stumble. But when you do a Facebook Live post in a private page where you're the only audience, there's a different connection. There's a totally different connection because you're producing it yourself and you get to reference it back. There's a different type of, I don't know, it's almost as if you don't have the same stage fright and you're able to flow more.
Yeah.
Right? You're able to flow better. Yeah. So leaving you guys with a few things. Number one, get moving from a physical standpoint. Number two, when it comes to eating, eat holistically and eat natural food. Very, very simple. If it's in a box or a plastic wrapper, don't eat it. All right? Number three, your self-talk. Say loving things to yourself and be kind to yourself in words. Yeah. Okay? And number four, life wants you to win. You don't have to make it so hard to convince yourself.
Always a win-win.
That's it.
Always the win-win.
All right? And if you need anything, you know where to find us. All right?
Yes. I hope you guys have had a great day. Happy Monday. Fun. Good morning. So you guys have a wonderful Monday. Have a great rest of your month. If you guys are out in the Stockton area, you are welcome to come and check me out. I will be performing at the fair this Friday, 7 p.m. What's up, everybody? Check out your girl, Ronnie. I'll be on stage. They're going to have a brew festival over there, a beer festival. So you guys can, there's going to be 16 different California breweries there in that spot. And so there are going to be a lot of local people there. I'm going to be one of the local artists performing on the homegrown stage. So you guys come check me out. And if not, you guys can come check me out on the 23rd at the Bella Vista Cucina Italiana, which will be on the rooftop. It's great for a date. So if you guys want to take somebody special out, bring your cameras and be ready for a really nice sunset and some great entertainment. I think the headliner's a magician, which would be very interesting. Awesome. Very interesting.
Put it on your calendar.
So check that out, the 23rd, the 15th, and then next month you will be seeing Mel and I again.
We'll be back, and anything you guys want us to talk about or deep dive into, just comment in the box and let us know what you want to talk about.
Let us know what's on your
mind.
mind.
We love your feedback in any way, because we want to learn from you as well. All right.
And if you want to share an experience, you can also leave that. Send us like I would, before you say send a letter, but I mean, you can send a long message about your experience.
DM us, just right.
And then we can share that with everybody.
Right. We're both tagged on this video, so if you want to send us a private message, if you prefer to do that, that's fine too.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Peace.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Peace, y'all.